Pat Boone finally speaks the truth at 91. About Elvis Presley. When Pat Boone was born. Charles Eugene Boone was born on June 1, 1934. In Jacksonville, Florida. He stands as one of the longest-lasting and performers who can do a lot of different things, a representation of clean-cut charm, strong faith, and artistic flexibility. Boone grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. Was very much based on Southern ideals and Christian beliefs that eventually become a key part of both his personal life and how people see you at work. He went to David Lipscomb College in Lipscomb. David Lipscomb was the name of the university at the time. North Texas State and College. Before graduating from university, Columbia University gave me a degree in speech and English, which is a type of education. Improved his professional stage presence and charm that is clear. Boone first got national notice in the 1950s, a decade that was very important for rock and roll was becoming a musical force that changes things. He quickly became famous as a clean-cut alternative to the rebellious people who are in charge of the Elvis Presley, for example, was a big name in the scene. Famous for his silky voice and good looks. Picture, Boone started his career by recording rhythm and blues songs that were originally sung by black artists. Blues songs that were first sung by black artists, a choice that was both commended for its part in bringing R&B to white people and condemned for cultural reasons. Taking still, his versions like Ain't That a Shame, a song by Fats, Little Richard's Domino and Tutti Frutti, Ivory Joe's I Almost Lost My Mind, Hunter had huge commercial success and brought in more people to genres they might not have otherwise looked into. By the end of the 1950s, Boone had made his place in his spot as one of the top talents in music from the U.S. He made more than 38 charts, top 40 hits and sold more than 45 million copies. 6 number 1 hits and 1 record. 1. His sweet love songs and ballads. Crooning won over millions of people and his spotless reputation earned him a popular among parents who saw rock and roll with distrust. Pat Boone was popular for a long time. He was second only to Elvis Presley in terms of how well they did on the charts during the decade and even beat him in fan. After that, Boone's success wasn't not just on radio charts. He turned into hosting on TV as well. His own Chevy show, The Pat Boone Chevy Showroom, from 1957 to 1960. This weekly broadcast featured both established and up-and-coming musical talent and made Boone's standing as a well-known name. Past his achievements in music and TV, Pat Boone also worked in a similar field. Movie. He was in more than a dozen movies. Movies like April Love, 1957, Bernardine 1957 and Journey to the Center of the Earth 1959, and State Fair 1962. His duties as an actor were very similar to his public image, respectable, romantic, and morally good, which aided keep his appeal going during a time when people's tastes in culture were starting to change. Hollywood welcomed Boone as the best leading man for feel-good movies for kids. Movies. He was also known for saying no to take on roles that were in conflict with his own beliefs, a choice that but occasionally hampered his chances. Also made his brand stronger as a good role model. The effect of Pat Boone went much beyond just entertaining business. He used his faith as a fervent Christian to his platform to support faith-based Values, which show up a lot at authoring books about and going to evangelical events. Christian life, family, and yourself. Ethics. He wrote a number of Twixt 12 and 20, which are bestsellers. A guide for teens that sold millions of copies and struck a chord with both teenagers and their parents. He, too, took part in a number of charitable and political causes, especially those in line with religious and conservative goals. Boone was never scared to say what he thought. His thoughts, even when they were different from what people thought, and he often used his fame to have an effect. Discussions about moral and cultural issues. In the 1990s, Boone shocked fans and when he came out with In a Mr. Nice Guy, Metal Mood No More cover songs of heavy metal songs done in his traditional style of crooner, dressed in black leather. Boone was on the American Awards for Music and caused a media storm. Pay attention. Even if the record was meant to be funny and tongue-in-cheek, loving tribute to rock and metal classics, it showed Boone's ability to remake himself and his being willing to take chances even late in his job. Even if people had different emotions, the album became a cult hit and brought in to a younger group of enthusiasts. Over the course of his multi-decade, Pat Boone built an impressive career over the years. A list of things you've done. Over 50. Over 2,300 records sold, million. Recorded songs, several gold albums. And a name for being one of the best. One of the most important crossover performers in pop music from the United States. But outside of the numbers hides a history constructed on faith, honesty, and consistency. Boone's unwillingness to give up his beliefs in search of fame become a defining trait of his personality. Not like a lot of performers from his time whose careers were. Boone was tainted by scandal or too much of a good thing. Kept a stable and scandal-free life, staying married to his high school sweetheart Shirley Foley. Shirley Foley, the girl he loved in high school. The daughter of Red, a country music star. Foley, who died in 2019 after 65 years of being married. They had together 4 daughters, one of which is Debbie Boone, who later became successful in music with the song You Light in Her Own Right. My Life. Pat Boone's work and life are a sign of a time that has passed. A time when artists were in the entertainment business, not only by their skill, but also by the values they stood for. In many respects, he is still a symbol of good American culture is generally remembered more for what he believed in more than for any specific performance or record. But it wouldn't be fair to ignore his huge contributions to making early rock and roll more popular. He has been successful in many different areas and his pioneering status as a crossover artist. Pat Boone has been around since the 20s. Kept performing, talking, and fight for the things he believes in. At this point, he is still full of life in his 90s. Eloquent person who gives thoughts on faith, music, and life. His long life in the public eye and capacity to stay culturally relevant even when things are changing. Changing times and norms show both his skill and determination. Now, in the end of an amazing life and 91-year-old Pat Boone, the famous American singer, actor, and writer has opened up with honest thoughts regarding his complicated and frequently misread friendship with one of the most famous people in music history, Elvis Presley. fans and historians of music have made guesses about what the dynamic really is between Boone and Presley, two very tall people from the 1950s who helped shape the change in rock and roll. Both of them were youthful, charming, and on the charts. Top talents who found themselves at the center of American culture. Change, their trajectories were very diverse in how they look, how they act, and how they feel. Convictions. Boone has been feeling a rising need to set the record straight. With the insight and clarity it comes from living a good life, he has started to reveal more personal stories, feelings that aren't voiced, and thoughts he had about Presley that he kept secret out of respect before for his fellow performer and a lot of public attention that was on both of them. Boone talks about how during the media, often at the height of their careers, made up or exaggerated accounts of competition between them, which made a story of rivalry that was really more exaggerated than true. Boone now says that he always adored Elvis for his natural talent and profound dedication to music and the magnetic quality he brought to the stage. He remembers meeting Presley for the first time at TV shows and recording studios, calling him surprisingly shy offstage, yet very committed to his work. Boone was one of the rare persons who the industries that saw it coming early on, that Elvis was more than just a trendsetter or a love interest. He was a revolutionary force that would create a lasting impression on the culture of the United States. But Boone also admits the ways in which their careers went in different ways. Pat built his name on clean, healthy performances that, in line with his strong Christian, Elvis embraced a bolder, more rebellious look that made him an symbol of youthful rebellion and sexuality. Freedom. Boone is honest about how the contrast affected how they were seen in public, saying that people often thought he was the safe choice instead of Presley. He never hated the king of rock and roll's fame, the popularity of roles. He really did feel that Elvis's success made it possible for other performers, including him, by pushing the limits of what is popular, what music could be. When you say the truth. Boone now talks about his deeper sadness over the sad course of Elvis's life. He says that he was heartbroken by Presley's gradual descent into addiction and being alone, especially knowing how being bigger put a lot of stress on you than a person in real life. Boone remembers wanting to be able to have helped Elvis more. That maybe if there had more honest talks, more friendships that are more down to earth or more spiritual. With help, the result could have been not the same. Boone has always been a supporter of faith-based living, shows what he believes. That Elvis was looking for something, a stronger relationship to God and to purpose, to peace, but was too often around by people who helped him become famous instead of feeding his spirit. Boone now says that even if he first thought Elvis wouldn't last long, but he rapidly learned to respect how deep his musical brilliance and feeling, being expressive. Elvis had something real, something you couldn't learn. Boone says he tapped into something basic that said straight to the hearts and souls of people. He was more than just a performer. He was a phenomenon. Boone talks about his thoughts in genuine friendship and casual times, discussions about faith, fame, and the stress of being famous overnight, performances on TV series from the past, and even phone calls late at night when both men told each other their anxieties and dreams. Pat Boone also admits that how their careers took different paths, not just in terms of music, but also in terms of spirituality. A devoted Christian all his life, Boone stayed true to his conservative values, beliefs, and frequently utilized his platform to encourage moral topics. Even though Elvis fought with her inner demons more openly, demons, celebrity, and problems in your own life, Boone still won't judge. Instead, he gives understanding and compassion, exploring the cost of becoming famous on Elvis, who said he was a sensitive soul, crushed by the burden of being bigger than life. Boone's thoughts on life in his later years are full of a blend of respect, sadness, and thankfulness. He talks about Elvis was more than just a cultural icon. As a smart but weak man, tortured, kind, and not understood. It took me a long time to get past the. Boone admits that there is glitter and loudness. But I saw someone who wanted when I did. For love, for tranquility, and for a place to rest. I wish we had talked more at the conclusion. I wish I could have helped him. As of now, Boone remembers a friendship that was more polite and subtle than amazing. He finds peace in remembering the times when people were nice, respect, and silent understanding they shared. Boone has said that Elvis was a good man. Remarked in interviews not long ago, his voice full with feeling. He had a lovely heart. He had a hard time, just like we all do. Just his problems were on display in front of the world. I want more people to have not just the real Elvis, but also the performer, not just the person. For Pat Boone, telling the truth about at this point in his life, Elvis is not just about putting old stories to rest. It's about paying tribute to another artist who, even though personal problems and pressures from the outside world, made a difference in the world with his music. And in doing so, Boone also confirms his own. Not merely as a performer who previously made a name for himself, competed with Presley on the charts, but as a man of kindness, faith, and strength. Truthfulness. The amazing music of Pat Boone stands out as a career that has lasted for decades. One among the most productive in history of well-known music. During his an amazing adventure as a recording, it is thought that he has been an artist for officially recorded over 2,600 tracks. This huge number not only shows how hard he works and dedication to his work, but also shows how flexible and productive he is. Output. To put this accomplishment into To put things in perspective, there aren't many artists have been able to do so, no matter what genre or time period. To build up such a huge collection of recorded music. Boone's large collection of music shows an artist who always gave his fans new music, often covering a lot of different types, from gospel and pop to country and standards, which guarantees a legacy in the music business. The number of his recordings also points to lots of time spent in studios, working with skilled producers and musicians, and a persistent desire to change and attract a wide range of people. Pat Boone accomplished a lot during his career. 38 had a lot of commercial success, of his singles getting into the sought-after the top 40 songs in the U.S. This amazing number, numerous charting successes, makes him a great choice as a big name in American pop music, notably in the 1950s and 1960s. While he was at the top of his famous, he got 38 hits, and among them, got to the top spot 6 times. Which shows clearly that he widespread appeal and the sound of his music with the people who listen to it. Not only does getting to the top of the charts not only means business success but also cultural impact, as these hits became the most important songs of their time, heard a lot on the radio and having an effect on other artists. Boone's being able to regularly put singles in the top 40 shows both his musical skill and smart marketing strategies. Management behind his work. One of the most impressive and long-lasting records held by Pat Boone was his first weeks in a row in the U.S. graphs. He maintained the position until the 2000s. Record for the most weeks in a row, having at least one single in the U.S. Top 100 charts, which have 220 weeks. This amazing accomplishment shows a long time of being popular and relevance that isn't often equaled by other artists. Staying on the for more than 4 years straight needed not just the making of hit after hit, but also the power to engage with people as they change musical styles and trends. This record shows how consistent Boone is throughout time, and his distinct place as a consistent presence in the American music scene. Presence in the music scene in the United States. Holding this record for such a long time. Time will only make his legacy stronger as an performer who took over the radio and still adored by listeners for a long time in the history of pop music.